Have you ever tried to outrun your pain, only to find it has a longer stride than you do? The more you avoid a discomfort, the larger it looms. The more you pretend you don't feel it, the louder it screams. And the worst part, you become a slave to the very thing you try to ignore. Running from pain is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It offers a moment of false relief, but the explosion that follows is always worse. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius gave us a brutal but honest assessment of life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. Life demands engagement. It demands that we face resistance. Accepting discomfort isn't weakness. It's the very definition of strength." The modern author, Ryan Holiday, who has brought Stoicism to millions, builds on this ancient wisdom. Ryan Holiday explains, "The obstacle in the path becomes the path." What this means is that the thing you are avoiding is the very thing you must confront. The pain you're running from holds the key to your transformation, but few have the courage to turn around and face it. Welcome to the Stoic Lighthouse. This is the place where ancient wisdom illuminates modern challenges. Our commitment is to be the light that cuts through the fog of daily life. Let the Stoic Lighthouse guide you towards tranquility and wisdom. If this mission resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel now. It strengthens our ability to spread this philosophy to more people seeking inner strength. Today, you will understand why running from pain doesn't solve anything. It only prolongs the suffering. And you will learn how the Stoics, from Epictetus to William B. Irvine, learned to see pain not as an enemy to be feared, but as an ally to be understood. Pain is inevitable, but suffering? That you can choose not to carry. Number 1, the illusion of escape. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll deal with this later, I just don't want to think about it right now"? You push down the anxiety, ignore the difficult conversation, procrastinate on the challenging task. But what happens later? The pain is still there. In fact, it's bigger. The anxiety has grown interest, the tension has compounded. What was once a small shadow has become a giant. Running from pain is our most common instinct. It's also our most dangerous. We believe we're protecting ourselves, but we're actually building our own prison. The great Stoic master, Epictetus, who endured slavery and exile, gave us the master key to understanding this. Epictetus taught, what really frightens and dismays us is not external events themselves, but the way we think about them. It is not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of things. When you run from pain, you're making a judgment about it. You are telling yourself that pain is an enemy, something unbearable that must be avoided at all costs. But in reality, pain is just a messenger. It's a signal from your body or your mind pointing to where the problem is. It's there to inform you, not to destroy you. The pre-Stoic philosopher Heraclitus, whose ideas were a deep well of inspiration for the Stoics, understood the unity of opposites. Heraclitus stated, "The way up and the way down are one and the same. Pain and relief are not absolute opposites. They are two sides of the same coin, part of the same process. Pain can elevate you, or it can drag you down. It all depends on how you choose to respond. Resisting the pain is choosing the way down." The modern author William B. Irvine, in his Guide to Stoicism, brings this ancient truth into sharp focus for our times. William B. Irvine reminds us, pain is unavoidable, but suffering is amplified when you believe you shouldn't be feeling it. This is the core of the problem. The suffering comes not from the pain itself, but from the resistance to the pain. You don't suffer because you feel fear. You suffer because you fight against the fear. You don't suffer because a relationship ended. You suffer because you refuse to accept that it ended. As long as you keep pushing the pain under the rug, it gathers power in the shadows. Avoiding an emotional wound doesn't heal it. It allows it to fester, turning it into a ticking time bomb. And that bomb eventually explodes in the form of chronic anxiety, irrational anger, burnout, or depression. The Roman statesman and philosopher Seneca, known for his sharp and practical wisdom, gave a stark warning about this hesitation. Seneca wrote, "While we are postponing, life speeds by. You postpone feeling the pain. You postpone facing the truth. You postpone the difficult task. And in the end, life has passed you by. But the pain you avoided, it's still there, waiting." The illusion of escape is exactly that, an illusion. You think you are protecting yourself, but you are only sabotaging your own healing and growth. Don't run, don't suppress, don't postpone. Pain only serves its function when it is faced, and ignoring it is the same as choosing to suffer for longer. Number 2, pain as the ultimate teacher. Pain is the one teacher we all try to avoid. It's the class we never want to sign up for. But it is precisely this teacher who delivers the lessons that no one else has the courage to teach. Pain is direct, it is relentless, but it is also transformative. The modern author William B. Irvine, building on ancient Stoic wisdom, reminds us of this profound truth. William B. Irvine wrote, "The hardships we encounter along the way are not interruptions. They are the way." This echoes a core Stoic insight. Pain isn't an obstacle to be avoided, but a road to be traveled. It's the curriculum of life. Think about a gym. You go there and you pay money to experience physical pain. Why? Because you know that the discomfort of the workout builds strength. The mind is no different. The Stoics saw life as their mental gymnasium, and adversity was their chosen form of exercise. The Roman philosopher Seneca, who faced political intrigue, exile, and eventually a death sentence, saw adversity as the ultimate test of character. Seneca explained, "Fire tests gold. Adversity tests strong men. Without pain, there is no refinement. Without discomfort, there is no clarity. Without crisis, there is no growth. Pain yanks you out of your comfort zone and throws you back into reality. It forces you to reevaluate who you are, what you tolerate, and what truly matters. It strips away the non-essential." Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps and became a modern icon of applied Stoicism, lived this truth in its most extreme form. Viktor Frankl wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Frankl understood, perhaps better than anyone in the 20th century, that pain can either destroy you or refine you. The choice is yours. The Roman Stoic teacher, Musonius Rufus, whose practicality earned him the title of the Roman Socrates, taught that the training of the soul required real effort. Just as the body needs the resistance of weight, the spirit needs the resistance of difficulty. Pain cleanses, it awakens, it shatters the ego. And when the ego is shattered, you can finally see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. This leads to one of the most powerful and liberating ideas in all of Stoicism. The former slave and Stoic master Epictetus gave us the formula for this peace. Epictetus taught, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happens the way it happens. Then you will be happy." Pain, when interpreted correctly, is a compass. It points to what needs to be healed, adjusted, or matured. It reveals your attachments, your false beliefs, and your areas of weakness. Do you know why it hurts? Because it matters. Because there is something there that you need to look at directly, without flinching, without pretending you don't feel it. Pain is the truth touching your skin, and the truth, when you finally accept it, sets you free. Number 3, useless suffering versus productive pain. There is the pain of the event itself, and then there is the suffering we create on top of it. This is the critical distinction between reality and our resistance to reality. The first is a fact of life. The second is a story we tell ourselves. Pain arrives, but suffering is constructed. The modern psychotherapist and author Donald Robertson, who has dedicated his career to studying the links between Stoicism and modern therapy, explains it this way. Donald Robertson writes, "Much of human suffering stems from our tendency to resist what is beyond our control. You feel fear, and then you start blaming yourself for feeling fear. You experience a loss, and then you start raging against the universe for that loss. The initial clean pain of the event gets a second dirty layer of suffering, a layer manufactured entirely by the mind. This is the principle that Epictetus built his entire philosophy on. Epictetus stated, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about these things." Useless suffering is born from these judgments. It's born from a constant, "I don't accept this." It's born from a silent, repeated, "This shouldn't have happened." The pre-Stoic philosopher Heraclitus intuited this centuries before the Stoics organized the philosophy. Heraclitus warned, "Expectation is the root of all heartache." Expecting life to be different than it is, that is what truly hurts. You expected the person to stay. You expected the plan to work out. You expected the pain would never come, but it came. And the more you resist that reality, the more you bleed. James Stockdale, the American officer who was a prisoner of war for 7 years in Vietnam and a deep student of Epictetus, survived the worst horrors not by denying his pain, but by accepting reality with courage. He famously explained the Stockdale paradox. James Stockdale said, "You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they might be." That is the essence of it. Accept what hurts, without illusion. Face what is, without drama. The useless suffering is when you keep feeding what you should have let go. It's living in the what if, in the why me, in the this isn't fair. The mind traps you in loops. The pain itself is a passing event, but the attachment to the pain can last a lifetime. The modern author, Ryan Holiday, captures this perfectly. Ryan Holiday writes, "Pain is nothing if it's not amplified by our reaction to it. Useless suffering is therefore an optional burden. You can choose to drop that burden, not by running from the pain, but by stopping your resistance to it. Accepting isn't surrendering. It is taking back control over yourself. The pain will visit you, but the suffering only stays if you leave the door open for it." Number 4, the Stoic courage to face reality. Most people don't run from pain out of cowardice. They run out of illusion. They believe that if they don't look at the problem, it will simply disappear. But reality doesn't work that way. It doesn't go away just because you turn your face. The Stoic courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to act virtuously despite the fear. And the most fundamental act of courage is the courage to face reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. The Roman teacher Musonius Rufus, the master of Epictetus, was firm on this point. Musonius Rufus taught, "If you want to make progress, you must be content to be thought foolish and stupid." The path of the Stoic begins right there, in the willingness to endure what needs to be endured, including the discomfort of facing hard truths, without performance, without masks, without excuses. Pain, failure, rejection, loss, all of these are part of the human experience. To deny them is to deny life itself. The modern author Ryan Holiday deepens this understanding with brutal clarity. Ryan Holiday explains, "Discomfort is the price of ambition and excellence. If it's not hurting, you're probably not growing." To face pain with fortitude is one of the highest forms of maturity. It's not about liking what hurts. It's about recognizing that avoiding pain strengthens no one. What strengthens you is walking through it. The pre-Stoic philosopher Diogenes the Cynic lived this courage in a radical way. He gave up all comforts and exposed with his own life how much we are slaves to false needs. For him, the truth was more important than comfort, and that made him free. Viktor Frankl also lived through the extreme of pain and found a purpose within it. Viktor Frankl concluded, "Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose." It is this courage, the courage to find meaning even in suffering, that the Stoics invite us to cultivate. It is not about resisting what hurts, it is about ceasing to resist reality itself, to look life in the eye as it is, and to say, "I am ready." The Stoic courage is not the absence of fear, it's the choice to not let fear dictate the path. The modern psychotherapist Donald Robertson reminds us of this. Donald Robertson writes, "The Stoics trained the mind not to eliminate emotions, but to handle them wisely." And that is what courage means in Stoicism, to feel everything without surrendering to anything, to accept everything without abandoning yourself, to move forward even when everything inside of you wants to retreat. Because facing reality is the only way to transform it. Pain is inevitable, but prolonged suffering is often a silent choice. You can keep running, postponing, pushing it down. But know this, everything you avoid chases you. Everything you resist persists. And everything you accept transforms. Today you saw that pain is not your enemy. It is your mentor, your mirror, your alarm bell. Running from it makes you weaker. Facing it makes you stronger. The great Stoic Seneca gave us the ultimate measure of character. Seneca wrote, "It is in times of difficulty that a man shows what he is." So, who will you be? Will you continue to run from pain, or will you use it as your stepping stone? Let me know in the comments below. I choose to face it. That way, I'll know you're committed to your own transformation. If this video helped you see pain with new eyes, hit the like button now. Subscribe to the Stoic Lighthouse and share this with someone who is going through a tough time. You can be the lighthouse in someone else's storm. And as you continue your journey, remember that our next video will explore a shocking truth. We've been taught to chase happiness, to seek pleasure at all costs. But what if that very chase is the source of our misery? We will dive deep into the ancient battle between hedonism and Stoicism, and what you'll discover about the nature of pleasure might just change the way you live your life. You don't want to miss it. We end with one of the greatest lessons on freedom from Viktor Frankl, a man who faced pain in its most brutal form and emerged with his spirit intact. Remember this always. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. See you in the next video.